What's up, witches? I don't normally like to make these types of videos where it feels like I'm trying to dictate someone else's practice, but today I want to talk about things you need to leave behind in order to practice paganism. And to me, this is just kind of more of a baseline or a guideline to what I consider the pagan worldview to encompass, and concepts or paradigm shifts that I think are necessary in order to truly walk a pagan pathway in life. And I think this might be especially helpful for those who might be coming from a more religious background where you were steeped in the teachings of, say, Christianity, because the very first thing that I think you need to leave behind in order to be a practicing pagan is that good versus evil or black versus white paradigm or way of thinking. One thing that I've noticed when people are just starting out in their journey as a practicing pagan is they'll say things like that they're worried if they offer the wrong thing to a certain deity that they're going to be punished or that something bad will happen. And I think especially within paganism and Norse paganism, there isn't really that concept of sin or judgment going along with those types of things. You know, about the most evil thing that you could be is an oath breaker. I often say that Helheim is not the bad place, and so when it comes to things like heaven versus hell or good versus evil, you really just need to completely shift away from that black versus white paradigm of thinking, because Odin especially is definitely a god who occupies the gray areas to me. And if you read the myths and read things like Havamal, there are things that Odin does that he himself comes to regret and advises others not to do and not to make the same mistakes that he made. So the gods themselves are not these perfect, all-knowing, all-powerful beings. Even Odin couldn't stop things like Baldur's death or Ragnarok, so they don't expect perfection out of us either. I often reassure people that if you offer someone something that they don't like, no one is going to come down and smite you. The other thing that I think you need to step away from is the concept of thinking that you need a priest or a teacher or some type of spiritual intermediary or higher authority to tell you how to practice or teach you right or wrong ways of practicing or to talk to or petition deities on your behalf. Perhaps the most important thing that you can do, not only as a pagan or heathen, which I think is definitely a religion of personal responsibility, especially if you want to be a witch or a magical practitioner, you really need to first and foremost reclaim your own personal sense of power. And you don't need a clergy or a middleman or a priest in between you and Freya or you and your chosen deities that you want to work with. There's no middleman. You can go right to the source and interact with them on a one-on-one basis. If you want to seek out mentors or teachers, then that's all very well and good, especially if it's something that you're not familiar with, like runes or certain modes and methods of practicing that you are interested in and might want to delve into and learn more about. But you don't need that. You can step into your power and commune with deity or find your own ways of reclaiming power, whether or not you choose to work with deity at all. There's no intermediaries here. The other thing that you need to leave behind in order to be a practicing pagan, in my opinion, is this idea of needing some promise of a reward and or that fear of punishment in order to adhere you to a moral compass and show you right from wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, it just all comes down to basic human decency and being able to integrate yourself somewhat into a society in order to find a community and find some sort of sense of personal fulfillment, be able to think of yourself as a good person without needing external validation or a promise of a rewarding afterlife and or just a fear of punishment by a bad afterlife or ending up in the bad place in order to keep you from doing bad things. If that's the only thing keeping you from doing those things, then I don't think deep down you're really that good of a person. Just my opinion. So as I said, paganism, and I think heathenry especially, is all about personal responsibility and taking that on yourself and taking on that responsibility of putting in the work on yourself, doing shadow work, learning and recognizing and working on your own flaws as a person, and being able to know right from wrong in and of yourself. Norse cosmology has things like Valhalla and Helheim, but I think that overall there is less focus on or emphasis on where you go when you die or what your afterlife is going to be, and more emphasis placed on that what matters is your actions while you are alive and the reputation that you will have once you are gone from this world. I think overall, in this day and age, there are a lot of people that are still really hung up on where they are going to end up when they die. But I think there definitely needs to be more focus on what we are doing with our lives in Midgard, because even if you, like me, believe in reincarnation, you still only have this one lifetime in the here and now to live and to enjoy Midgard and enjoy this world and that life on Earth and make the most of it while you are here. I'm definitely all about like building up good karma and trying to have a positive impact on the environment right around me and just do what I can to tip that balance and tip the scales toward good and just leave everything a little better than when I found it. I think that's just my overall goal. But I think if we all put a little bit more focus on our actions and our impact on the here and now, as opposed to just focusing on the afterlife and striving for a promise of a better afterlife, we can make that rewarding life possible here on Earth. So it's all about just redirecting your focus and shifting your paradigm away from that good versus evil, black versus white way of thinking that we are all so ingrained with. And I think even if you're not practicing those authoritarian types of religion, we live in a very authoritarian based society of power and control. So being able to shift away from that, I think, will just go a long way towards spurning you forward on your journey as a practicing pagan. So I don't, like I said, want to dictate anyone's practice by any means, but these are just concepts that I think you need to leave behind if you want to successfully be a practicing pagan, in my opinion. In conclusion, Odin is not your sky daddy. I can't stress this enough. Yes, he wants us to be progressing and kind of get on his level in some ways and, always be learning and striving to be better and be the best versions of ourselves, as I think most of these deities want for us. But Odin is not your sky daddy. No one is going to descend from the heavens and smite you if you do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or mess up a ritual or offer them something they don't like. So with that, go forth, my baby pagans. Go forth into the world and it harm none. do as ye will. And until next time, stay classy.